Interestingly,
Ugh.
Palmer reimagines Dragonite.
I'm gonna have nightmares of this thing. What is this? Well, look at all of these. Gross. What is up, YouTube? Welcome back. It's Curmudgeon Jones coming back to you with another reaction video. Today we're going to be checking out the Realistic Pokemon Biology Part 1 by Curious Archive. This is something that popped up in my feed recently, and I put it in my watch later, and unfortunately I've been ignoring it the past few weeks. But we're going to be checking it out this week because I'm actually interested in this, and I think it could be really cool. So let's hop right into the video, and let's see what we think.
Have you ever wondered what Pokemon might look like as realistic creatures? By their very nature, Pokemon are highly stylized, so reimagining them as more biologically feasible life forms presents an exciting challenge. This concept is the idea behind the Realistic Pokemon Project, a series by R.J. Palmer, aka Arvillus, who is one of my favorite creature designers, and is so talented he was hired to assist with the designs for movies like Detective Pikachu.
That's
and
dope.
I have links to where you can follow and—
Funny thing is like people complain about Pokemon graphics so much. It's like such a big deal. Like, oh, the graphics are bad. Oh, they're bad. They're outdated. Blah blah blah. It's like, bro, is this what you want? I don't know, man. I mean, it looks really cool, I guess, if you're going for realism, but like, this is kind of horrifying and scary looking.
Support him in this video's description. His art imagines what kind of biology a more scientifically grounded version of a Pokemon might have, often with fascinating results. So for this entry into the archive, you can expect a Pokemon nature documentary of sorts, examining Palmer's redesigned Pokemon as if they were real animals. Before we get started, a quick disclaimer. These realistic life forms are an awesome speculative exercise, but not an attempt to somehow improve the stylized designs of the original games. They're just meant to be interesting alternate takes. Also, when Palmer calls these designs realistic, he means they ground the appearance of Pokemon in real-world anatomy, but many are of course still more fantastical than what you'd likely find in nature, and in some cases still possess their elemental abilities, because it's more exciting that way. He incorporates real science and biology when he can, but the main goal of this project is just to have fun. With that said, let's get started and dive into the incredible world of realistic Pokemon.
I'm excited.
We'll begin our journey through the natural world of Pokemon in the Kanto region and examine realistic versions of the starter lines. Opening with Venusaur and its pre-evolutions, you can see how different Pokemon look when rendered with more realistic detail. Here, Palmer has modeled the fantastical anatomy of the Venusaur line off real animals like horned lizards and the extinct parareptile Gudosaurus, an organism that wasn't actually that far off in size from a Venusaur. Palmer also imagines the organisms have an endosymbiotic relationship with a large type of flower, similar in size to real-life Rafflesia, plants which can reach 4 feet or 1.2 meters in diameter. Rafflesia are also parasitic, meaning they derive some of their nutritional requirements from other plants. We can imagine our Venusaurs have a similar, albeit more mutually beneficial, arrangement with the plant that grows out of their backs, giving the flowers energy in exchange for added defense and perhaps vice versa. Plant-animal cooperation isn't completely unheard of in nature, like hummingbirds pollinating flowers or moss growing on the fur of sloths, although sloths don't get much say in that one. Admittedly, this Venusaur line is taking this to a new level, but it's more fun to imagine a life form with a giant symbiotic plant on its back than without one. Charizard and its pre-evolutions are up next, and have been reimagined in fearsome detail. Palmer adds new complexities of scale patterns, ridges, and layers of muscle to help ground these more fantastical creatures in the natural world. For inspiration, Palmer has drawn from the appearance of many different types of real-world reptiles, some of which look like they could be from another world if you stare at them long enough. The claws on the forelimbs in particular remind me of the anatomy of monitor lizards like the Komodo dragon, which in real life can grow up to 10 feet or 3 meters. And like most monitor lizards, this more biologically feasible version of Charizard usually stays lower to the ground due to its weight, and is rearing up in this image as an intimidation display.
That's really cool.
The last starter we'll be covering here is Blastoise and its pre-evolutions. These turtle-like creatures now seem much better adapted for life in an aquatic environment, with sea turtle biology forming the basis for all 3 designs. Palmer imagined Squirtle might have a long, rudder-like tail to steer through the water, and much like a baby sea turtle, are quite a bit slower on land. In contrast, war turtles, seen here having a minor standoff with a quite realistic Krabby, spend much of their time resting on the sea floor.
I love Squirtle.
Palmer has depicted war turtles' head fins as a unique kind of fan coral that grow from the creature's head due to their sedentary lifestyle.
Awesome.
And the aquatic behemoth Blastoise is perhaps the trickiest to get right. Cleverly, Palmer has reimagined its cannons as biological water jets, much like the ones some real-world squid species use for propulsion, although Blastoise's jets have evolved to be much more powerful. If you look closely, you can see a Staryu and Shelder in this image too, which creates an immersive sense of a rich underwater ecosystem. Moving past starters, interestingly, Palmer reimagines
I'm gonna have nightmares of this thing. What is this? Well, look at all of these. Gross.
Dragonite as a giant amphibian, taking inspiration from the Japanese giant salamander, and basing Dragonite's earlier forms, Dratini and Dragonair, off salamander tadpoles. In nature, some salamander tadpoles do feature frill-like structures on the sides of their heads, which do look somewhat like Dratini's little side crests. Strange though it might sound, in the real world these body parts are actually the salamander's external gills. Since salamanders are one of the few real-world animals where a serpentine-looking creature transforms into a reptilian-looking one, it's a pretty clever fit for a more biologically feasible version of Dragonite. And while real-world Japanese giant salamanders of course aren't actual dragons, they might well be the next closest thing. Up next, we have various evolutions of the unique Pokemon Eevee. And this more realistic.
Look at, it's a hairless cat. Ugh, gross. That one's ugly. But man, these are pretty. I like these. That one's obviously horrifying and hideous, but
realistic world, Palmer imagines these organisms are the result of a single species diversifying to adapt to different environments. There are all sorts of small creative details here that make this image great, like Vaporeon having more defined flipper-like feet, almost like a seal or sea lion, Espeon resembling a hairless sphinx cat, and Leafeon having a high density of moss in their fur, giving them the appearance of being green, again sort of like a sloth. Cool. In the category of legendary Pokemon, Palmer imagines Arcanine as a powerful predator, taking anatomical inspiration from canines, of course, but also borrowing features from lions and tigers, which makes sense considering Arcanine in the games has something of a lion's mane and some tiger-like markings on its side. Plus, if any real animals deserve the title of legendary, lions and tigers are definitely among them, so it makes sense that a more lifelike Arcanine would resemble them.
That one looks pretty cool.
Palmer also drew the pre-evolved form Growlithe, which I think looks a bit like a lion cub. A small detail I like is that this cub seems to be playing with a Turtwig, although the Turtwig doesn't seem too happy about it. For the Pokemon Nidoking, Palmer took inspiration from various sources.
What is this abomination?
Adding the leathery armor and central horn of a rhino, while also borrowing the claws and spines of a porcupine for the rest of the anatomy. The result is a truly unique looking creature.
Terrifying.
And near this Pokemon's tail, Palmer snuck in a realistic interpretation of Pikachu, which not surprisingly looks quite rodent-like. In the realm of flying types, Palmer has converted Haunchcrow into a much more biologically feasible looking creature, an impressive feat considering how stylized Haunchcrow are in the games. Their beards have been reimagined as part of their body they can puff up to attract mates, similar to the displays of some birds of paradise.
Haunchcrow's so pretty, man. I really like Haunchcrow.
Unique looking bony plates, which are actually quite similar to the bony plates on the heads of real-life cassowaries, plates that these giant birds can use as a deceptively powerful weapon.
Pretty cool.
Another challenging Pokemon to make realistic is Garchomp, who happens to be one of my personal favorites. This version is an imposing carnivore, imagined as a fusion of a theropod dinosaur and some kind of shark, just on land. In fact, I could imagine this strange predator stalking the sands of an arid environment. Definitely one realistic Pokemon which might be dangerous to encounter in nature. Another dinosaur-like Pokemon, but with some intriguing insect-like influences, is Scyther, depicted here looking quite different from its original design. The creature's forms in this version resemble those of a mantis, although this reinterpretation also has some pretty clear theropod influences as well. Its wings are depicted as a kind of back sail, almost like a thinner version of the sails on the backs of dinosaurs like Spinosaurus. A pretty inventive reimagining. Perhaps the trickiest Pokemon on this list to imagine as a living organism is Gengar and its pre-evolutions.
Yikes,
Instead of
bro.
ghosts, this evolutionary line has been reimagined as bat-like organisms, which fits their spooky theme. Starting with Ghastly, Palmer depicts this bizarre pre-evolution as a poisonous bat with a specialized helium bladder that allows it to float, almost like a living balloon.
That's
Strange?
so
Sure,
cool,
but
though.
you've got to get creative when imagining a ghost type as a wild animal.
It's creepy,
Moving
but
on,
cool.
Haunters have been realized with translucent wings to give them that floating hand look, which is a creative way to ground the design biologically. And finally, Gengar is a heavier terrestrial creature, which Palmer imagines as an active carnivore. Zoroark has also been given the carnivore treatment, with its anatomy now much closer to a canine predator, and the stylized elements of the original design
Looks like a
toned down.
werewolf.
In the skull and teeth region, Palmer's Zoroark somewhat resembles a hyena. And moving down to the ground, also ready for their close-up is Diglett, conceptualized as a much more conventional burrowing life form akin to a star-nosed mole, which is good because star-nosed moles are the best. Returning at last to legendary Pokemon, this awe-inspiring
That is
reimagining
sick.
of Reshiram focuses on the avian qualities of the legendary to create a
That
more
is
taxonomically
sick.
consistent design. An ancient and powerful being in the games, this portrayal likewise takes inspiration from the anatomy of extinct proto-birds and early avian dinosaurs, just scaled up to epic proportions. One extra world-building detail is that Palmer imagines the silver bangles on its neck were offerings from early humans who worshipped it like a deity.
That's cool.
And as the finale of our journey through realistic Pokemon designs, we have Groudon, looking straight out of an epic myth when rendered in so much realistic detail. Huge and pulsing with some unknown bioluminescent display, this gargantuan creature stretches the limits
crazy.
of size for wildlife, taking anatomical clues from the largest of theropod dinosaurs. It's the sort of behemoth that would seem right at
so
home
cool
stomping
like
through
that.
a volcanic landscape. Of course, a creature of this size would have an effect on its environment. Running from this titan's thundering steps is a Magmar, which in this interpretation resembles the curious shoe-billed stork,
That's really cool,
an animal
too.
that proves once and for all that nature can frankly be just as weird as Pokemon. The world of realistic Pokemon
Dang,
is vast
dude, those
and
are
is yet to be
sick.
fully explored, but we've reached the end for this particular video. There are extra designs on
So if you guys want, make sure to check out more videos by this person. It's a Curious Archive, and then check out the designs by RJ Palmer. Those are pretty sick. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. That was really cool. I love cool, awesome art because I'm not very good at making it myself, so I love looking at other people's and watching it. If you guys enjoyed my reaction to this, make sure to give the video a thumbs up. Comment down below other stuff that I should react to. I'll probably react to however many parts of this are. I haven't looked at it yet. This just popped up in my feed, like I said. But thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for all the support lately. Oh, just had a weird moment there. I appreciate all the support. Like I said, thank you for watching, guys. I will catch you in the next video. Peace.